Famine looms in parts of northeastern Nigeria as years of war against Boko Haram militants cuts off millions from the rest of the country. Health reporter Lino Mudu speaks with Bill Gates, co-founder of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, about the fight to end polio globally. And a New York man becomes the first player to collect all 145 Pokemon after embarking on a round the U.S. trip. Africa 54 starts right now. Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. We begin in West Africa, where 7 years of war against Boko Haram have left northeastern Nigeria in the grips of a malnutrition emergency. Borno State has taken the brunt of the violence. Some areas remain cut off from aid by fighting. Now, meanwhile, camps for people displaced by the conflict are overflowing in the state capital. For VOA reporter Chika Odua has the story from Maiduguri.
Over 2 million people have fled here to the Borno State capital, Maiduguri. They have found relative safety, but little else. Thousands are living in shanty settlements. Women cook in abandoned fields. Some stay in uncompleted buildings. Children play in junkyards. Families live under trees.
Boko Haram, they are like a lion in the forest. They have been killing and collecting our valuables. They have destroyed our houses. There is nothing left.
Maka Mustafa lives in this shed with a few dozen other families. He says he was turned away from official IDP camps.
We don't know the reason why, but the distributors in the camps do not distribute food to everyone. Some will get, some will not.
A local NGO official told VOA there are as many displaced people now living outside the camps as there are inside. More than 13,000 people live in this open field. Zara Abba fled here after Boko Haram abducted her first son. She's been in this field for the past 3 months with her granddaughters.
I have not seen a single government official that comes to assist us. And right now we are not even feeling fine. And these locally made tents you are seeing, we bought them ourselves. We are even weak. We are sick.
Aid agencies are warning of a possible famine in parts of Borno State still cut off by insecurity. Here in the state capital, shortages have driven up the prices of staples like tomatoes, bread, sweet potatoes, and rice. And it's the IDPs who live on their own, outside of the official camps, who are the most vulnerable. Some are surviving on leaves they gather from the fields. The worst off end up in this health center.
These cases are malnourished children that come with respiratory distress, that needs O2 therapy, that needs blood transfusion, that are very, very sick. Common cases are from disease, problems like coming down with measles, whooping cough. They become malnourished because they do not eat and they are not adequately fed. And there's no food.
Some help is slowly coming. Children gather to wait for a food delivery truck from a local charity. They sing happy songs from happier times. Chika Odua for VOA News, Maiduguri, Nigeria.
Well, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry will travel to Kenya, Nigeria, and Saudi Arabia next week for talks with senior government officials. State Department spokesman John Kirby says the visit to Kenya will focus on South Sudan's peace process and Somalia's political transition. In Nigeria, Kerry is to meet with President Muhammadu Buhari to discuss cooperation on the fight against Boko Haram militants, the Nigerian economy, and human rights issues. In Saudi Arabia, Kerry will meet senior Saudi leaders as well as counterparts from Gulf Arab states to discuss the conflict in Yemen. Now, today we bring you part 2 of Africa 54 Health reporter Lino Mudu's exclusive interview with Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, and along with his wife Melinda, co-founders of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They discuss what it will take to end polio once and for all globally and the foundation's work in improving global health.
So, Mr. Gates, an important part of the Foundation's work is focuses on health. As progress is being seen in fighting diseases like polio and improving immunization for children, what is the next priority in health funding for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation?
Well, our overall goal is that kids in poor countries should be as healthy as kids in the rest of the world. That is, their chance of getting sick is much lower than it is today. Their ability to get good nutrition, and so they develop physically and mentally to achieve their full potential, that's the same as kids everywhere. And so there's a lot still to be done. The progress on things like deaths going back in 1990 were over 12 million kids under 5 died every year. Now that number's under 6 million. So by getting new vaccines out, by improving primary health care, by educating mothers about things like breastfeeding, we have seen huge progress. There are a few other diseases like guinea worm that the number of cases is very, very small. And even a big killer like malaria, although it'll take many decades to get there, we're going to take the lessons from polio and apply that and eventually even be able to eradicate malaria.
And when you look at the way healthcare is being conducted in Africa in general, how do you foresee the impact of technology in the future of healthcare, specifically in Africa?
It's wonderful that we have technology on our side. So the ability to ask people to go out and survey the population and see how they're being served and report back to us using something like a cell phone. We can do quality measures much better. The ability to track the supply chain and make sure the vaccines are getting out, the ability to get the word out about when these vaccine sessions are taking place. Technology is such a huge support here, and every year as you get more cell phones, you get better network coverage, you get better biological science. That's partly why we think we can even accelerate the improvement in health in Africa. Even though the last 25 years were good, we want to do even more in the next 25 years.
And finally, Mr. Bill Gates, if we were to summarize in a way what it will take for the final push to end polio once and for all globally, what would you say?
Well, the simple thing is that if we get every kid to take the vaccine, then the disease drops to zero. And zero's really magic number, because then it means after you go through as a 3-year period of making sure you haven't missed any cases, then all the expenses to do with polio prevention, those can go down, and yet no kid will be paralyzed. No parents will have to worry about this disease, which, back in its heyday was very, very, very widespread. And we have all the lessons that come out of that. So getting the coverage level up, not having large pockets of children like in that Lake Chad region that we're missing with the vaccines, that's what we have to deal with. We certainly see great progress on that in Asia, and now we've got to redouble our efforts in Africa.
Well, turning to U.S. politics, Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton and her Republican rival Donald Trump are both vying for police support in the face of growing tensions between U.S. law enforcement and African Americans. Clinton met with leading law enforcement officers from around the country Thursday in New York, while Trump visited a police organization in North Carolina. Law enforcement also was a prominent topic in Trump's first major speech Thursday after a makeover of his campaign. VOA's Zlatitsa Hoke reports.
Trump opened his speech in Charlotte by expressing support for the people hit by historic flooding in Louisiana. But as he switched to his political agenda, he gave high priority to law and order.
Let me take this opportunity to extend our thanks and our gratitude to the police and law enforcement officers in this country who have sacrificed so greatly in these very difficult times. And they are difficult.
Trump painted a dismal picture on the state of U.S. security, economy, healthcare, and future, blaming most of the perceived ills on the Democrats and primarily on Clinton, whom he repeatedly called a liar.
If I'm elected president, this chaos and violence will end, and it will end very, very quickly.
Trump's new campaign managers, pollster Kellyanne Conway and chairman of Breitbart News Stephen Bannon, have advised him to be authentic and to stick to hard-right policies. Critics say poor opinion poll numbers forced Trump to change his campaign management. He claimed he didn't want to be forced to act like a mainstream politician.
I am who I am. It's me.
Clinton said the new management cannot change who Trump is.
He can hire and fire anybody he wants from his campaign. They can make him read new words from a teleprompter. But he is still the same man.
Clinton's campaign also focused on law enforcement Thursday, but at a meeting in New York with some of the country's top law enforcement officials, she stressed the need to bridge divisions between the police and the community they're serving.
I think it's obvious that recent events from Dallas and Baton Rouge to Milwaukee and across the country underscore how difficult and important the work is ahead of us to repair the bonds of trust and respect between our police officers and our communities.
Like Trump, she stressed the importance of respect for the law. But unlike Trump, she suggested the improvements will take time and effort. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Coming up, a New Yorker becomes the first person to catch all Pokemon available worldwide, just 3 weeks after the game was released. Stay with us.
This is BizBeat.
The tropical beauty of Cambodia is unmistakable, and it's not a country known for high-end luxury resorts, at least until now.
Pourquoi c'est la loge? C'est un endroit qui est merveilleux en fait.
I love the feeling of being in a real village with fantastic customer service. Techen Farachi is one of the many tourists flocking to Cambodia, drawn by resorts like Sela Lodge, a traditional timber-designed 5-star hotel. Another such site is made of thatch houses surrounded by rice fields and lemongrass, the Phoom Bai Tong Resort in Siem Reap. Guest assistant Sotha Savannarath can cart guests from luxury room to swim-up bar. She says we have lots of guests from Europe, but also Asia, Japan, and Korea. Yet another luxury resort in Cambodia is called Templation, 33 rooms, 21 private pools, and spectacular landscaping, catering to big-spending tourists who, according to the owner, are on the rise across the country. For VOA's BizBeat, I'm Philip Alexio.
Welcome back. He is the 2014 Africa winner of the Golden Environmental Prize, often called the Green Nobel, which rewards extraordinary grassroots environmentalists. Now, Desmond Dusser is the founder and the coordinator of the South Durban Community Environmental Alliance. He has worked for the last 2 decades to stop corporate and refinery pollution abuses and joins me now in studio to tell us more about all that. Mr. Dusser, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you.
Now, you've been fighting for quite a while. Share with us a little bit some of your successes in Durban. Durban is, like an industrial hub, and so much has happened there, but you've been working a lot there.
Certainly, and one of the big successes, I was here in 2014 campaigning against the expansion of the Durban port. On the 27th of April, we had a massive lockdown of the port, and since then, after meeting with the parastatals Transnet, we were then informed that the port has been put off to 2032. Mm-hmm. So that's the biggest, it's a massive...
Now, this has been put off. It will happen because any country that seeks to develop, to expand, expands things like infrastructure. Now, how do you develop the country? How do you move forward, but at the same time make sure that people don't get affected adversely?
Well, we are working with the universities in Durban together to develop an alternative vision. Mm-hmm. because we believe certainly that to create jobs, you need small businesses. You have an abundance, you can create it through climate jobs. We have a huge industry that's waiting to be capacitated. And that you would develop through either developing solar panels. There are a lot of agricultural jobs to create food, to secure food in South Africa. Those are jobs that are available that we can create, and we know it's happened in the past. There's been huge successes around there. There are countries that have been benefiting out of it. And we are working on the Global South in a partnership with India and Brazil to develop those programs so we can start using those programs, but more importantly, lobbying our governments to buy into the process of creating small businesses.
Now, environmental activists like yourself always seem to be like fighting against the corporate world, against government and politicians. Yet you would expect that government should be having the utmost interest in the health of their citizens, the economic development of their citizens without adverse effects. Why do you think it is like that?
Well, because, the corporations have huge power. They do pay a lot of money to the state. But I think what's important is that they do not bring the correct information. Since the petrochemical industry in Durban, they've shed 10,000 jobs since 1994. And I would think that figure has increased drastically. But more importantly is that their profit margin has not been threatened. And the jobs have, besides the jobs, the impact, the health problems have increased as well. We've seen severe cases of asthma, chronic asthma, severe cases of cancer and leukemia, childhood leukemia in children.
Which ideally increases the burden on the government, because it's a question of healthcare, right?
Certainly, it increases the burden on government, and we think that why should the ordinary people be paying for this? And the corporations externalize the cost. They do not include that in their budgets.
Very quickly, you're here because you just visited Louisiana to a kind of a solidarity visit there. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I was actually shocked that I came into huge flooding, which indicates the climate change. But the Louisiana corridor, refinery corridor, is so big, it's massive. And really and truly, one asked the question is, what is the political will from our governments of the world to really deal with climate change? And going to Mossville to provide solidarity, but also to work with community and share our knowledge around the South African state-owned corporation is a prime example of whilst governments are talking about climate change and the Paris commitment, it's clear that Paris commitment is never going to be carried through, because a plant like Sasol should never be built in an area where climate change they've had 2 huge floods this year. And I was privileged to be witness this and see thousands of people being forced out of their homes. For me, it was pain, it was shocking, and that we need urgent action from governments. We cannot wait. Nature's not going to wait for any one of us. And so I'm urging the governments of the world that signed the commitment at Paris to do something about it now, rather than wait for our future to be destroyed.
So in a word, do you get the sense that in all parts of the world, environmentalists have the very same kind of war against environmental degradation?
Certainly we are seeing that environmentalists, but more importantly, environmental racism seems to be that where black communities are, whether you're in the US or wherever you are else in the world, that they suffer the worst, and it's mostly the poor and marginalized people that are affected by climate change.
Well, Mr. Dessert, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Vincent.
All right. Well, Mr. Dessert, Desmond Dessert is the founder and coordinator of the South Durban Community Environmental Alliance, that is in South Africa. It's now time for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, our choice of top African music videos of the week. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Niger, the region of Difa celebrates World Humanitarian Day on Thursday, with aid organizations trying to raise more funds for thousands displaced by conflict. In Libya, dozens of migrants are rescued from a sinking dinghy and 2 other boats off the Libyan coast by a Spanish humanitarian aid group. Residents in Mali's volatile northern town of Kidal light up their homes with solar power kits. Finally, in Tanzania, condoms filled with chili powder and firecrackers are helping scare elephants away from human settlements in Tarangire National Park. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. New Yorker Nick Johnson has revealed the efforts he made to become the first player to collect all 145 Pokemon in the popular mobile game Pokemon Go after embarking on a round-the-world trip last month. Johnson caught all of the currently available Pokemon a mere 3 weeks after the game was released in July. He says he walked for an average 12 kilometers per day and spent up to 8 hours engrossed in the game. Johnson said after claiming online that he had caught all Pokemon available in the U.S., several travel agencies and hotels offered to sponsor him so he could catch the remaining 3. His quest took him to Paris, Hong Kong, Sydney, and Tokyo. Well, next up, things are bubbling away at the London Science Museum. But there is a serious side to the evening's entertainment. The message is London is open. With Britain voting to leave the EU in the recent referendum, some people in the capital have been concerned its multicultural, cosmopolitan image might have been tarnished, with the country appearing to be isolated from the outside world. Now, the major cultural organizations of London have banded together to showcase what the British capital has to offer. Well, and finally, Kanye West fans can buy a taste of the life of Pablo this weekend following the rapper-turned-fashion mogul's announcement of 21 pop-up stores worldwide that will be open just this weekend. 14 of the stores will be in major cities in the U.S. Kanye West appears to be expanding the pop-up store concept following a successful run in New York in March. A recycled Levi's jacket customized by West was on sale at the store for $400. The only store on the African continent will open in Cape Town, South Africa. And that is what is trending today. Well, it's time now for a Music Makers segment. And today, Sanusi Diallo presents the top Africa music videos of the week. Take it away, Sanusi.
Welcome to VOA's African Hit. I'm Sanusi Diallo, your host today. I will be presenting you the top 5 music video from Africa. Sit back and relax as we're about to introduce you the top 5 music video from Africa by African artists. Ladies and gentlemen, now introducing our number 5 music video of the day. Here's Going to the Land of Coupé Décalé, Côte d'Ivoire with DJ Arafat Maploli. Now introducing our number 4 music video of the day. He's a Nigerian dancehall singer, Patoran King featuring Sarkodie in No Kissing Baby.
No other girl with me at well. Two of us like pot and capsule. I just can't tell why we fight and we wrestle. I saw the wire, me get the fire. I saw the wire, and the girl got the fire. If you not keep man, I go take go. Only your love I appreciate go. If you not keep man, I go take.
Now coming up on number 3, here's a young Afrobeat superstar, Wonder in Ring.
Baby, I got to you, yeah, yo, yo. Anything you want, I do, yeah, yo, 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 yo. Come make I use you show, yeah, yo, yo. Tell the whole world that you're my own, yeah, yo, 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 yo. See, so let me put a ring on your finger, oh, yo, yo, yo. Ring on your finger, oh, yo, yo, yo. Sugar lady ballerina, oh, yo, yo, yo.
Introducing our number 2 music video, we're going to Tanzania with Diamond Platinum featuring P Square with Kidogo. Let's go!
She got me dancing, party, fiesta, forever. Oh yeah, yani kabisa mena nimalizaga. Dancing, party, fiesta, forever. Yani kabisa mena nimalizaga.
Now introducing our #1 music video of the day. You probably heard of Where's My Johnny, but now we have Yemi Alade with her new release featuring Sauti Sol, Africa.
Yemi Alade, Sauti Sol. This my African hands, them gon' love you. Yeah, my African lips, them gon' kiss you. Whoa. My African hips get down to you. Whoa. My African legs, them gon' run to you. Whether you come here to break dance, I mean you come here to shake hands. You come here to make plans. Never would it reach this motherland. Whether you come here to rock with me, oh, I mean not to find food, oh, everything they oh, never would it reach this motherland. Anywhere you go, London, USA, nowhere be like Africa, nowhere be like home. Anywhere you go, New York, Chicago, nowhere be like Africa, nowhere be like home. Biko eruya wayo, wayaka, karibu kiti, utapewa nini, ayayaya weruya wayo, wayaka, karibu kiti, utapewa nini.
African artists will love you. This my African arms, they will squeeze you. Yeah, my African ears will listen to you. My Kenyan legs will run to you. Yeah. Now come on, umekuja to break down, umekuja to get down, umekuja to take chance. Hakuna matata eh. Come on, umekuja kulipa.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Make sure to tune in and check our social media page at VOA's African Hit. The African Musical Countdown, it's on VOA African Hit. And once again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, Sanusi. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night.
Welcome to the Voice of America's Newswords. Today's word often is in stories about international politics or business.
Geopolitical.
This is a huge regional and geopolitical problem for the United States moving forward. Hostages are now currency in this war on terror. That's always dangerous for both diplomats, aid workers, soldiers in the battlefield.
Geography deals with the physical features of the Earth, like mountains, oceans, and country borders. The word geopolitical combines geography and politics.
The term describes the political relationships among nations that affect their governments, economies, and citizens.
So, the next time you hear the word geopolitical, you can use it in a conversation.